It started like a fairy tale night, the kind Hollywood loves to pretend is normal. Warm air, golden lights, expensive perfume floating through the ballroom like smoke, and the Beverly Hills Hotel 1979, packed wall to wall with movie stars, athletes, producers, and people who didn't want to be famous, but wanted to control the famous. Everyone was laughing too loudly, smiling too long, and watching each other more than they watched the party. Because in rooms like this, nobody is just having fun. They're making deals. They're picking sides. They're deciding who rises and who gets quietly erased. And right in the center of that ballroom, like a sun pulling every planet toward it, was Muhammad Ali. Not just a boxer, not just a champion, a walking event. A man who could enter a room and make grown men forget their own names. Ali had just won his third heavyweight title. The cameras weren't everywhere like today, but it didn't matter. People still leaned toward him like he was the only story worth telling. He was smiling, charming, being Ali. But what most people didn't know, Ali was always watching, always reading, always measuring people, especially the ones who talked big. And that night, in a quieter corner of the ballroom, a different kind of show was happening. A circle had formed, not around Ali, around a tall, lean man in traditional martial arts clothes. A man who moved like he was performing, but also like he believed every inch of his own myth. Steven. Back then, he wasn't a movie star. He wasn't even a known face. He was the guy some powerful people whispered about, like a secret weapon you could rent for the right price. The type of man Hollywood loved, because Hollywood loves a mystery it can sell later. Wasn't just demonstrating moves. He was selling a story, and people were buying it. He threw volunteers with almost no effort. Big men, confident men, men who probably thought they were tough because they had a gym membership and a famous friend. Would smile gently, then toss them like they were made of paper. The crowd clapped and gasped like children watching magic, and spoke calmly like a teacher. But the words he chose, those words were sharper than his movements. "We don't block attacks," he said, "we redirect them." The crowd nodded, impressed. "We use an attacker's force against them." More nodding. Even the strongest puncher becomes helpless against true Aikido technique. That line landed like a match dropped in gasoline. Because the strongest puncher was not some imaginary person. The strongest puncher in that room was Ali. And Ali heard it. From across the ballroom. He wasn't even close at first. He was laughing with someone holding a drink, acting like he didn't care. But his eyes shifted, and his smile faded just a little. Not because he felt threatened, because he recognized something. That kind of statement wasn't confidence. It was a challenge wearing a polite face. It was the kind of line people use when they want attention, but also want safety. A line designed so that if you call it out, they can say, "Relax, I didn't mean you." But they did mean you. Kept talking. He talked about Japan. He talked about discipline. He talked about peace. But the message underneath was simple. Boxing is crude, Aikido is superior. And the Hollywood crowd ate it up, because Hollywood always loves the idea that the old king can be replaced by a new one. Especially if the new one looks calm, mysterious, and spiritual. Threw one more volunteer, clean and smooth. Then he looked around the circle like a man who had already won something. That's when the crowd split like water, because a new presence moved through them. A voice cut through the murmurs, soft but heavy. "Excuse me." Ali had stepped in, and in that moment, it didn't matter how impressive looked. Because when Muhammad Ali walks toward you, your body understands something your ego won't admit. This is not a normal man. The room shifted, people stopped smiling. Not because they expected a fight. Because they expected history. Ali came closer, watching like he was watching a sparring partner. Not angry. Not loud. Just curious in the most dangerous way. Ali nodded slightly toward the volunteer had just tossed. Then he looked back up at and said, Did you just say any attacker becomes helpless? Silence. The kind of silence that makes you hear glasses clink across the room. Didn't move. He held his calm face. He had to. Because the moment he flinched, the spell would break. That's correct, said Smooth and Steady. Aikido is the art of peace. We neutralize aggression without creating more violence. The crowd nodded again, relieved to hear something peaceful. Ali smiled. That famous Ali smile. The smile that looked friendly, but always meant, I see you. Is that so? Ali said. Then he tilted his head slightly, like he was listening to something only he could hear. Well, I'll tell you what, Sensei. That word sensei came out sweet, but it carried a little bite. I've been hitting people professionally for 20 years. A few nervous laughs. And I've never met anyone who could just redirect my punches. Ali stepped closer. Not into space, just close enough that everyone knew this was real now. You really think your Aikido would work against a real fighter? The air got tight. Because now had a choice. And every person in the circle understood what that choice meant. If back down, he wasn't just backing down from Ali. He was backing down from the image he was selling. His whole performance was built on one thing. Superiority. Not skill. Superiority. And that's where betrayal begins. Because in storytelling, betrayal is not always a knife in the back. Sometimes it's someone smiling in your face while trying to take your throne. Looked at Ali. The room waited, then nodded toward an open space in the center of the ballroom. Would you like to find out? The crowd's energy popped. Not cheering, more like a hungry inhale. They formed a wider circle now. Still no phones, no social media. But Hollywood didn't need screens to spread a story. All it needed was witnesses. Ali took off his jacket, calm as ever. He handed it to someone casually, like this was nothing. Underneath, he wore a simple shirt, and you could see the body that had survived the hardest fights on Earth. He stretched his shoulders once. Not aggressive. Just ready. Raised his hands, relaxed at his sides in a traditional stance. Ali watched that stance carefully. He didn't laugh. He didn't insult it. He studied it. And that alone made uneasy, though he hid it. Because wanted to be admired. Ali was evaluating. Spoke louder now so everyone could hear. I want to be clear, he said. Aikido is not about harming opponents. I will simply demonstrate how your attacks can be neutralized. Ali nodded like he respected that. Fair enough, Ali said, but I want you to know something, mister. The way Ali said mister made look just slightly smaller. I may be a boxer, Ali continued, but I'm not some amateur throwing wild punches. Ali stepped into position. Then he smiled again. I'm the heavyweight champion of the world. That title hit the room like a drum. It reminded everyone, this isn't a movie, this isn't choreography. This is a man whose hands had rewritten careers. Swallowed just barely. Ali continued, calm as a preacher. My jab has been clocked at speeds most people can't even see. The crowd murmured again, nervous. Even the producers, men who had seen fake fights on set, suddenly looked worried. Because they knew. Real skill feels different. Real danger doesn't shout. It stands there quietly, breathing through its nose. Nodded. I understand, he said. Please attack me as you would any opponent. Ali started to move. Then stopped. And did something that confused everyone. He didn't raise his hands into a guard. He didn't bounce. He didn't circle. Ali just stood upright. Hands down. Relaxed. Like he was waiting for a bus. Some people laughed, thinking he was joking. But didn't laugh. His eyes narrowed. Because a man like Ali doesn't do random things. Ali tilted his head. Then with a grin he said, Hold on, I got a better idea. The crowd leaned in. Ali stepped closer, still relaxed. Then he said words nobody expected. Why don't you hit me first? The room broke into confused murmurs. That wasn't the agreement. That wasn't the martial arts demo. That wasn't the script had in his head. Blinked. I'm sorry. Ali nodded, smiling like this was the simplest thing in the world. You heard me, Ali said. You hit me. Hesitated. Because now, suddenly, the peaceful philosophy became a trap. If he refused, he looked scared. If he accepted, he looked violent. Ali had flipped the game without raising a fist. And that's where the psychological betrayal happens. When someone forces you to reveal what you really are. Ali stepped even closer and lowered his voice, but everyone heard it anyway. Show everyone how powerful Aikido really is, Ali said. Hit me as hard as you can. Now's calm mask cracked, just a hair. That's not how Aikido works, he said. We don't initiate attacks. Ali didn't argue aggressively. He just smiled and pressed the point like a needle. Come on now, Ali said. You've been telling everyone how superior Aikido is to boxing. His jaw tightened. You've been saying any attacker becomes helpless against your technique. Ali pointed gently at his own face. Wells, here I am. A pause. One of the most dangerous attackers in the world. Another pause. And I'm giving you a free shot. Ali shrugged. What's the problem? The circle went silent again. Because now this wasn't about martial arts. This was about pride. And in Hollywood, pride is a currency people will spend even when it ruins them. Glanced around. He saw producers watching. Actors watching. People who could change his future. And he understood something terrifying. If he walked away from this moment, his mystique would shrink. And if his mystique shrank, Hollywood would forget him. So he tried one more time to keep control. Aikido is about peace, said, forcing a calm tone. It's about harmony. Ali nodded politely. Then he leaned in just slightly and said, almost like a whisper, Hit me. The words weren't loud, but they landed like a slap. Froze, because every part of his identity in that moment was on trial. The teacher persona, the spiritual image, the dangerous martial artist reputation, the quiet confidence he'd been selling all night. And Ali wasn't even threatening him. Ali was simply offering him a mirror. Finally, Sai's hardened. He gave a slow nod. Very well, he said. He stepped back. He shifted his feet. He drew his right hand slightly behind him. And in that tiny movement, something changed. The crowd felt it. Because wasn't demonstrating anymore. He was committing. Ali stayed relaxed. Hands down. Chin open. Like he didn't care. But his eyes were sharp. And in that moment, if you were close enough, you would seen it. Ali wasn't guessing. Ali was already reading what was about to happen. Took one more breath. Then he stepped in. And as his hand began to move, the room held its breath. Because everyone understood. If landed clean, Hollywood would crown him a legend overnight. But if he missed, or worse, if Ali embarrassed him, his image would collapse right there on the ballroom floor. And here's the part most people don't talk about. This wasn't just a challenge. It was a setup, a trap made of ego, and by stepping forward, walked right into it. Because the next moment, the moment's punch flew toward Ali's face, lasted only 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds would decide who was real, and who was just a story. And what Ali did next wasn't a punch. It was worse. It was a lesson. A lesson so simple, so humiliating, and so clean, that Steven would never forget it. His right hand came forward. Not wild, not messy. It was controlled, trained, and sharp, like he wanted everyone watching to understand this wasn't a bar fight. This was discipline. This was martial arts. This was the moment Steven had been building toward all night. And Muhammad Ali stood there with his hands down, like he was bored, like he was giving a gift. But Ali wasn't careless. He wasn't disrespecting. He was doing something far more dangerous. He was making a point without saying it out loud. Because Ali knew something the whole room didn't. When a man talks about fighting, and when a man has actually fought, they move differently. They breathe differently. They commit differently. Stepped in, his fist traveled straight toward Ali's face. And for one tiny moment, you could feel the entire circle of people flinch inside their own bodies. Producers tightened their lips. Actors leaned back. A few people even raised their hands like they were trying to block what they were about to see. Because nobody wanted to witness Ali get hit in a ballroom. Not because they loved him so much, but because if Ali got hit, the room would turn ugly. Egos would explode. Security would rush in. And the legendary party would become the story everyone whispered about for years. But Ali didn't flinch. He didn't blink. He didn't even lift a hand. And then, it happened. Ali tilted his head. That's it. Not a jump. Not a dramatic dodge. Not some movie move. Just a calm, clean tilt, like he was avoiding a raindrop. His fist passed by Ali's ear, so close it looked like it grazed air off his skin. And the scary part? Ali didn't dodge late. He dodged early. He didn't react to the punch. He reacted to the idea of the punch. Like he saw it before it existed. His eyes widened, but it was too late, because he was already committed. His body was leaning forward. His weight shifted. His shoulder rolled. And anyone who has ever thrown a real punch knows the truth. Once you commit, you don't get to change your mind halfway. That's when Ali did the second thing. The thing that turned the entire room into a frozen statue. Ali lifted his left hand slowly. Not fast. Not aggressive. Not trying to hurt. And he placed his index finger on his forehead. Just a touch. Almost gentle. Almost disrespectfully gentle. Like Ali was checking the temperature on a wall. And in that tiny contact, his whole balance betrayed him. Because it stepped forward with power, expecting impact. Instead, he got nothing, just emptiness, just air. And when you throw power into air, you don't look strong. You look foolish. Ali's finger applied the smallest pressure, not even pushing hard. But it didn't matter. Was already falling forward in his own momentum. Ali didn't need strength. He needed timing. And Ali had timing like a musician. Stumbled forward. 1 step. 2 steps. 3. He caught himself barely, then spun around fast, angry and confused, like a man waking up from a dream. But Ali was still standing exactly where he'd been. Hands down again. Relaxed. Like nothing happened. The room was dead silent. Not one laugh. Not one clap. Not one whisper. Because everyone understood what they had just seen. They expected a clash of legends. They expected violence or dominance. But Ali had done something more powerful than either. He had made look like a man performing a story, while Ali looked like a man living reality. Then Ali smiled. That famous smile came back like a light switching on. And he said, in the voice imaginable, "In boxing, we call that stick and move." The crowd finally released air, like they'd been holding their breath for a full minute. Nervous laughter broke out. Not because it was funny, because people didn't know what else to do. Hollywood people hate awkward truth. They laugh to cover it, but wasn't laughing. He was staring at Ali with a face that couldn't decide what emotion to choose. Embarrassment, anger, shock, or something worse. Respect, because had just been challenged in front of the exact people he wanted to impress. And he failed, not in a dramatic way, in a quiet way, the worst kind. Swallowed. Then he asked the question that revealed everything. How did you know exactly where my punch was going? And notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, "How did you dodge?" He didn't say, "You got lucky." He didn't say, "That wasn't fair." No, he asked the one question that only a true fighter asks when their confidence gets cracked. "How did you read me?" Ali walked forward slowly. Not threatening, not proud, not trying to crush the man. Ali put a hand on his shoulder like an older brother. And the room felt the temperature change. Because now Ali wasn't a champion. He was a teacher. "Son," Ali said, "I've been reading punches since I was 12 years old." Ali looked around the circle, like he wanted everyone to hear this part. "Your Aikido, it's beautiful." His eyes flickered, like he didn't expect kindness. Ali continued, "I can see you spent years perfecting it." Then Ali's tone sharpened slightly, not rude, just real. "But fighting ain't just technique." Ali tapped his own chest lightly. "It's timing." He pointed to the floor. "It's distance." He pointed gently towards eyes. "And it's understanding your opponent's intentions before they even know themselves." That line hit hard. Harder than any punch could. Because it was true. Was trained. But Ali was seasoned. And there's a difference between someone who learned fighting and someone who learned people. Looked down for a moment. And in that pause, you could almost see his pride arguing with his reality. Pride saying, "Don't bow, don't admit it." Reality saying, "You just got taught in front of everyone." And then something happened that shocked the whole circle. Bowed. A deep, traditional bow. Not small. Not fake. A real bow. The kind you give when you know you've met something above your level. And he said quietly, "Would you teach me?" The crowd reacted without making a sound. Because that sentence did two things at once. It saved, and it exposed him. Saved him because it showed humility. Exposed him because it admitted the truth. His talk was bigger than his reality. Ali raised his eyebrows slightly, like he didn't expect that either. Then Ali smiled again, this time softer. "Yeah," Ali said, "I'll show you something." And for the next hour, the ballroom didn't watch a fight. They watched something rarer. They watched two men from different worlds meet in the middle. Ali moved with slowly, showing him the tiny signs that give away a punch. "Watch the shoulders," Ali said. "Watch the eyes. Watch how the weight shifts. Don't look at the fist is too late." Listened like a student, not a performer. And that was the first time that night he looked truly calm. Because finally, he wasn't trying to prove anything. He was trying to learn. And in return, spoke about Aikido's calm center. About controlling fear. About staying balanced. About not rushing into conflict. And Ali actually listened. Not pretending. Listening. Because Ali, despite his pride, always respected real knowledge. But here's the part nobody in that room understood. Not yet. This wasn't the end of the story. This was only the beginning. Because that tiny public moment, the missed punch, the finger on the forehead, didn't just embarrass. It planted something in him. A hunger, a quiet anger, a need to prove himself again, someday, somewhere, in a way the world couldn't laugh off. And Hollywood didn't forget what it saw. They just filed it away like a secret that would resurface later. When Steven became famous, and the people who witnessed this night would whisper, "Yeah, but you know Ali once made him look helpless in 3 seconds." Because after that hour of friendly training, something happened behind the smiles, behind the respect, behind the handshake. A private humiliation can turn into a public obsession. And when a man's image is everything, the smallest moment can become the deepest betrayal. So the real question is, did leave that ballroom grateful? Or did he leave it planning how to rewrite the story and take back control? When the training ended, the party didn't immediately return to normal. People tried. They picked up their drinks again. They forced smiles. Someone turned the music up a little. But the energy had changed. Because everyone in that circle knew they had seen something that couldn't be undone. Not a fight. Not a knockout. Something more dangerous in Hollywood. A moment where a man's image cracked in public. And in an industry where image is everything, that crack doesn't heal. It spreads. Steven stood near the edge of the crowd after the hour of movement and talk. He was polite, quiet, even respectful. But his eyes weren't resting. They kept scanning the room, as if he was trying to catch the exact second the story began traveling. Because stories don't need microphones in Hollywood. They travel by looks, by smiles, by the way someone leans toward someone else and whispers like they're sharing a treasure. That night, people weren't just whispering about Ali. They were whispering about, and could feel it. Ali, on the other hand, looked completely unbothered. He laughed, shook hands, cracked jokes, and moved on like it was nothing. Because for Ali, that moment was just a lesson. For it was a stamp, a label, and labels in Hollywood stick. As the party rolled on, a producer, one of the big ones, the kind who didn't introduce himself unless you already knew him, approached with a friendly smile. "Great stuff," the producer said. "Really impressive." Nodded politely, "Thank you." The producer leaned in slightly, lowering his voice like he was doing a favor. "Just next time, don't let Ali clown you like that." Smile froze. Not on the outside. On the inside. Because that word, clown, changed the whole meaning of the night. To Ali, it was stick and move. To the producer, it was entertainment. Comedy. A moment for laughs. And had not come to Beverly Hills to become the punchline of a champion's joke. He came to build a reputation. To become the mysterious martial artist Hollywood couldn't ignore. But now people would remember the finger. The stumble. The nervous laughter. The producer gave a pat on the shoulder and walked away. And stood there holding his drink, feeling something sink slowly into his chest. Not hate. Not rage. Something quieter. Something colder. Humiliation. And humiliation doesn't always explode. Sometimes it hides. And it waits. The next day, the party was over, but the story was. It moved through gyms, private clubs, casting rooms, and rich living rooms where powerful people gathered. Not in headlines. In whispers. He really asked to hit him. And actually swung. And Ali didn't even move. No, he moved his head like an inch. I heard Ali used one finger and almost fell. 3 seconds, that's it. People exaggerated, people edited, people made it cleaner and funnier. By the end of the week, it was Ali redirected the moment. It was Ali embarrassed him. And that's how Hollywood works. The truth is never the point. The most entertaining version becomes the truth. Tried to stay busy. He kept teaching private clients. He kept training. He kept telling himself it didn't matter. But then something happened that made it matter. One of the actors he'd been teaching, someone famous enough that paparazzi followed him, called to cancel. Not rude. Not aggressive. Just canceled. "Hey, Steven," the actor said awkwardly. "I'm gonna take a break for a while, busy schedule, you know." Heard the hesitation. And he heard what was under it. He was busy. He was embarrassed to be connected to the guy Ali made stumble. Hung up politely, but his mind didn't hang up. It started replaying the moment like a loop. The punch, the miss, the finger, the laughter. And here's the worst part. It wasn't the miss that haunted him. A fighter can miss. It wasn't even the stumble. A man can lose balance. What haunted him was how easy Ali made it look. How calm. How casual. Like wasn't even dangerous. Like Sintire, most dangerous martial artist, reputation was a costume someone could peel off with one touch. Then a few nights later walked into a small gathering, another Hollywood house party, smaller, more elite. He entered the room and immediately felt it. Eyes, quick glances, smiles that were a little too polite. And then he heard it. Two men near the bar whispered loudly enough for him to catch it. "That's the guy. The Aikido guy." Yeah, Ali made him spin around like a lost tourist. They laughed, not even trying to hide it. Stopped for half a second. His jaw tightened, but he kept walking like he didn't hear. Because if he reacted, he'd confirm the story had power over him. But inside he was changing. That was the real betrayal. Not Ali. Not the crowd. Not the producer. The betrayal was this. Had built his identity on being untouchable. And now he had been touched. With one finger. And the entire world around him was enjoying it. Days turned into weeks. And weirdly didn't hate Ali. Not truly. Because Ali hadn't been cruel. Ali hadn't attacked him after. Ali had praised his art. Ali had even taught him. But couldn't escape the deeper truth. Ali didn't just teach him technique. Ali taught him his place. And for a man who was trying to climb into power, being reminded of your place feels like being trapped. Then came the moment that pushed everything over the edge. A director someone had been hopping to impress invited him to a meeting. Arrived early, dressed sharp, calm, composed. The director shook his hand and smiled warmly. "I love what you do," the director said. "We might need you on a project." His chest lifted slightly. Finally, a door. Then the director chuckled casually. "But listen, here it comes. I'm just gonna be honest. If you're on set, don't let the actors challenge you like Ali did." Smile stayed on his face, but it became a mask. The director continued, not realizing he was cutting deep. "You know how actors are, ego, they'll try to test you, and we can't have, you know." He paused, searching for the polite word. Awkward moments. Awkward moments. That's what they called it. Not a champion teaching a lesson. Not a rare meeting of styles. Awkward. Like was a party trick that malfunctioned. Nodded politely, of course. He left the meeting with his dignity intact on the outside. But the moment he got into his car, he gripped the steering wheel hard. And for the first time since the Beverly Hills party, he didn't replay Ali's finger in his mind. He replayed the laughter. Because the laughter wasn't about the punch. It was about the power shift. The room had chosen Ali. And in his mind, the room had betrayed him. That night trained alone. No students, no audience, no clapping. Just him, sweat, and silence. He practiced footwork. He practiced strikes. He practiced the exact step he took before punching Ali. Again, and again, and again. But this time he didn't practice for peace. He practiced for control. Because he realized something painful. Aikido could redirect force. But it couldn't redirect a story. And didn't want to be the man in someone else's story. He wanted to own the story. Rewrite it. Change the ending. He wanted a moment where the room wouldn't laugh. Where people would whisper something different. Where the myth would return. And slowly, quietly, a plan formed. Not a revenge plan like a movie villain. More subtle. More Hollywood. More dangerous. Would build a new image. An image that couldn't be tested at a party. An image that looked powerful on screen. An image where he controlled every angle, every movement, every outcome. Because on a movie set, nobody can embarrass you unless you allow it. And if became a star, then the Beverly Hills story would fade. Or at least, he could drown it with louder stories. Bigger stories. Stories where he wins. But there was still one problem. No matter how much he trained, no matter how many rich clients he taught, that one whisper kept following him. Ali made him stumble. It was like a shadow, and shadows don't disappear just because you pretend they aren't there. They disappear when you step into a stronger light. And that's when Steven made a decision that changed his life. A decision that wasn't about martial arts. It was about Hollywood power. Because if couldn't beat the story, he would replace it. He would create a new version of himself so big that nobody would dare laugh again. But here's the twist. The very thing he did to rebuild his image also created the biggest betrayal of all. Steven didn't wake up the next morning and say, "I'm going to get revenge." No, real revenge doesn't always sound like anger. Sometimes it sounds like ambition. Sometimes it looks like a man smiling in meetings, shaking hands, teaching classes. While inside, he's silently promising himself, "Nobody will ever laugh at me again." After that party doubled down. He trained harder, he spoke less, he watched more. He didn't just want to be good. He wanted to be untouchable. Not in a ballroom circle. Not in whispers. In the one place where reality can be controlled. On camera. Because understood something that most fighters don't learn until it's too late. In Hollywood, winning isn't about who's the strongest. It's about who looks strongest. And was smart enough to know that the Beverly Hills story would always exist as long as people had something to compare him to. If Ali was the real champion in that room, then needed a room where he was the champion. A room with lights, marks on the floor, and a director calling action. A room where nobody could step in and say, "Hit me." Because on set, nobody hits you unless it's scripted. And became obsessed with that kind of control. He started offering fight choreography. He started designing scenes where the other guy always charged in. And he always redirected. Always calm. Always smooth. Always effortless. And the more he did it, the more people around him started believing the new story. Not the one from the ballroom. The new one. Steven the Silent Force. And that's how it happened. Hollywood didn't crown him because of a tournament. Hollywood crowned him because he gave them something they could sell. A mysterious man who looked like he could end a fight with one motion. And slowly the whispers changed. At first, people still said, "Yeah, but Ali once." But then, as name grew, the sentence got shorter. He's a real martial artist. He trained in Japan. He's dangerous. And then the whispers became admiration. And admiration is the sweetest form of revenge. Because it makes you feel like you erase the past without ever touching it. But here's the painful truth. No matter how famous became, he still carried that 3-second moment like a stone inside his pocket. Because success doesn't heal a bruise if the bruise is on your pride. And pride bruises are the hardest to cure. Years passed. His career rose. He got roles. He got attention. He got the thing he wanted most. A new story. But the old story never fully died. Because people who witnessed that party were still alive. And Hollywood is the kind of place where people hoard stories like weapons. They don't always use them. They keep them for the right moment. And the right moment came in a strange way. One night long after became somebody, he ran into a familiar face from those early years. An actor who had been in that ballroom circle. Someone who had laughed nervously when Ali said, "Stick and move." They sat in a private lounge, low lights, quiet music. The actor smiled, relaxed. Tried to stay calm. They made small talk. Then the actor leaned in with a grin. "You know," the actor said, "I still think about that night with Ali." His body stiffened just slightly. The actor continued, unaware or maybe fully aware. "Man, he made it look so easy." There it was. The finger. His throat tightened. The actor chuckled. "I've never seen anyone humble someone without even throwing a punch." Forced a smile. But inside, it burned. Because that wasn't praise. That was a reminder. A reminder that no matter how many movies you star in, one moment of real life can still define you to the people who saw it. Sipped his drink and nodded. Then he said something very quiet, something that sounded calm, but carried years of pressure behind it. Ali was special, said. The actor smiled, he really was. And in that moment, could have done the thing pride wanted. He could have defended himself. He could have said it wasn't fair. He could have said that wasn't real Aikido. He could have rewritten the story in words. But he didn't. Instead, stared down at his drink for a second and said, "That night taught me something." The actor leaned closer, curious. "What?" Breathed out slowly. "It taught me the difference between looking strong and being strong." The actor blinked, surprised. Continued, voice steady. Ali didn't need to prove anything. That's what made him dangerous. Then looked up. "And me." He paused, like he was admitting something painful. "I wanted to prove everything." That confession hung in the air. Because it wasn't just about fighting. It was about life. The actor didn't laugh now. He didn't tease. He just nodded slowly, like he finally understood as a person. And that's when the real ending reveals itself. The truth is, Muhammad Ali didn't destroy Steven that night. He did shut him down out of cruelty. He gave him a lesson wrapped in mercy. Because Ali could have embarrassed him harder. Ali could have actually struck him. Ali could have made him fall in front of everyone. But Ali chose the touch possible. A head tilt. A finger. A sentence. And that choice showed Ali's real power. Not power of fists. Power of wisdom. Ali's greatness wasn't that he could win fights. It was that he could win moments without making enemies. He could show superiority and still leave dignity behind. And for Steven, that was the moment he was betrayed by his own ego. Because ego told him, "You must dominate." Ali showed him, "You don't have to." Ego told him, "If they laugh, you're finished." Ali showed him, "If you're truly great, their laughter doesn't matter." And here's the most important part. This isn't just a story about two men in a ballroom. This is a story about how people react when their image is tested. Some people get bitter. Some people get louder. Some people build a whole life trying to erase one embarrassing moment. And others learn the lesson and become bigger than the moment. So what's the real revenge and betrayal here? The betrayal was not Ali. It was not Hollywood. It was not the crowd. The betrayal was the belief that being respected means never being humbled. Because humility is not humiliation. Humility is a tool, a teacher, a doorway. And Ali, whether liked it or not, opened that doorway in 3 seconds. If there's a lesson in all of this, it's simple. Technique can impress people, but wisdom changes people. Steven had technique, but Ali had wisdom. And wisdom doesn't need violence. Wisdom doesn't need loud talk. Wisdom can change a room with one quiet move. And maybe that's why this story still survives today. Because deep down, everyone wants to believe in that kind of strength. The kind of strength that doesn't destroy people to prove a point. The kind of strength that teaches, that elevates, that leaves someone exposed, but not broken. So the next time life gives you a moment where someone challenges you, the next time someone tries to test your pride in public, remember Ali's lesson. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't the one where you crush someone. It's the one where you stay calm, use the touch, and walk away with your dignity so strong that nobody even dares to laugh. And that's why, in the end, Muhammad Ali didn't just win fights. He won hearts, he won respect, and he won the title that mattered most. Not the heavyweight champion, but the greatest. If this story hit you in the chest, don't just watch it alone. Share it with someone who needs this lesson. And tell me in the comments, Have you ever had a moment where someone humbled you, but it secretly made you stronger?